This jaw-dropping video is blowing up online, showing Pop Smoke's killer getting his face brutally beaten, black eye and bruises everywhere. 5 years after taking Pop Smoke's life and showing zero remorse, the streets finally caught up with him.
I ain't sorry. Just die every day.
But what most people music don't know is who actually did this to him and why it happened now. Caught lacking. Around January 25th, 2026, a video exploded online. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere you looked, it was circulating. And this clip showed something Pop Smoke fans had been waiting 5 years to witness. Blockstar, the man who took Pop Smoke's life, strolling around with a seriously messed up face. We're talking a black eye that looked like someone put some serious work in. Bruises all over. And the wildest part, he recorded himself right after it happened. Went live or something, showing the world exactly what went down. Music, the video spread like wildfire. Say Cheese posted it, and within hours it racked up over 4.5 million views, 17,000 likes, and hundreds of comments. Everyone was saying the same thing. Karma finally caught up. The internet instantly claimed New York Goons got him. That someone from Pop Smoke's circle or just a loyal Brooklyn fan caught him slipping and handled business. Music, social media was on fire with speculation. Comments like "beat him again" were everywhere. Some asked, how is he still alive? Others said, why is his killer walking free when Pop Smoke isn't? Here's the thing, nobody can confirm was exactly who did it. Some say it was random LA gang beef. Others claim it had nothing to do with Pop Smoke at all. Posts from rap pages labeled it as rumor, saying, rumor has it he got jumped, but that's not facts. Them beads definitely got dropped on him. But you know how the internet works? When you're the guy who killed one of Brooklyn's most loved rappers in year's end, you show up looking like somebody used your face as a punching bag, people are going to connect the dots. Whether it's true or not, the satisfaction in the comments. Real people felt like street justice was finally served, because the legal system, it barely gave him a slap on the wrist. When he killed Pop Music Smoke, he was tried as a juvenile. His official sentence, 50 years to life. But under California juvenile law, he only had to stay in a state facility until he turned 25. He served about 4 years. That's it. 4 years for taking someone's life. So when people saw him looking beaten up, the reactions were exactly what you'd expect. This wasn't just about one viral clip, which is music. This was years of built-up frustration finally getting an outlet. Because this is the same guy who got out of jail and rather than laying low, rather than showing remorse, decided to go on podcasts and talk about it like it was nothing. He did interviews where he basically relived the night he took Pop Smoke's life, speaking disrespectfully, as if it meant nothing. But before we dive deeper into that, we have to go all the way back to February 2020, back to that night in the Hollywood Hills, back to how it all started. Because if you really want to understand why people feel so strongly about this music, you need the full picture. You need to know exactly who Blockstar is and how he became one of the most hated figures in hip-hop. Pop Smoke was just 20 years old. He was literally changing the sound of New York hip-hop, bringing Brooklyn drill into the mainstream like nobody else could. Hits like Welcome to the Party Dior. And for the night weren't just songs, they were anthems that had the city moving. Pop had that deep, gravelly voice you couldn't mistake for anyone else. Presence, charisma, and star power. Major artists were already lining up to work with him. Travis Scott, Nicki Minaj. Quote, everyone wanted a piece of what Pop Smoke was bringing to the table. He was just getting started, and the industry knew he was going to be massive. In February 2020, he dropped Meet the Woo 2. Music It debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200. Dior was blasting everywhere. The kid from Brooklyn was on his way to becoming a superstar. He had moved out to LA to chase his career and was staying at an Airbnb in the Hollywood Hills. Music the day before everything went wrong. Pop Smoke posted something on his Instagram story showing off gifts from the fashion brand Amiri. Bags, clothes, bags, the usual rapper flex. But here's where it all went wrong. One of those bags had a shipping label with the Airbnb address clearly visible. He didn't blur it, didn't cover it, just posted it. And someone was watching that night. Hello. Around 4:30 a.m. on February 19th, 2020, 5 hooded intruders broke into the rented Hollywood Hills home on Hercules Drive. They came in through the second-story balcony. Masks on, hoodies pulled tight, guns in hand. There was a woman in the house. They held a gun to her head, threatening her life if she didn't cooperate. Then they found Pop Smoke. Music. What happened next depends on who you ask. But here's what's certain. Pop Smoke didn't just hand over his stuff. He confronted them, fought backhand during the struggle. Someone Music shot him 3 times, in the chest and back. He was pistol whipped too. The robbers ran off with some jewelry, a diamond-studded Rolex, and maybe $3,000 in cash total. They later sold that Rolex for about $2,000. Think about that. Pop Smoke's life taken for items worth less than what most people pay in rent. He was rushed to Cedar-Sinai Medical Center. Doctors tried everything. Emergency surgery, But it was too late. Pop Smoke was pronounced dead that morning, just 20 years old, gone. The investigation dragged on for months. By July 20, 25 months later, APD arrested 4 people. 1 adult, 3 juveniles. The adult, 19-year-old Corey Walker. The 3 teens, ages 15, 16, and 17. This wasn't random. They had scouted the house using Zillow and Google, drove with headlights off, and communicated during the break-in. Corey Walker was the ringleader, planning everything. He researched LAPD response times and handed a Beretta 92 9mm to one of the kids, the 15-year-old shooter, Blockstar, real name King Vermin Rascal. Music court recordings revealed that in a 2021 jail call, he admitted to firing after Pop Smoke fought back. He pulled the trigger. 15 years old. Killed one of the brightest talents in hip-hop. The legal proceedings dragged on for years. Juveniles went through juvenile court. 1 teen pleaded guilty music to voluntary manslaughter and home invasion. Robbery in April 2023, sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in a youth treatment facility. Blockstar admitted first-degree murder, home invasion, robbery, and personally discharging a firearm in May 2023. Official sentence, 50 years to life. Heavy, right? But California juvenile law capped his detention at age 25, meaning he was out in about 4 years. Corey Walker, the adult mastermind, was finally sentenced in February 2025 to 29 years in state prison. Walker pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of home invasion robbery. The murder charge dropped as part of his plea deal. In court, he apologized to Pop Smoke's family, saying his actions were unforgivable, expressing a commitment to rehabilitation, and thanking his lawyers for helping him avoid a harsher sentence. So, to recap, Pop Smoke is gone. His shooters served about 4 years. The mastermind got 29 years, and the other accomplices, even less than the shooter. Pop Smoke's family has spoken publicly about how this tore them apart. His mother, Audrey Jackson, became an advocate against gun violence. She's talked about how this destroyed her family. How no amount of prison time can bring her son back, and then Blockstar got out. And instead of laying low, he did the exact opposite. The interview when Block was released from juvenile detention in early 2024. He didn't disappear. He showed up at the No Jumper store, looking for Adam Tutu. He wanted to do an interview. And not just any interview, he wanted to get paid for it. Think about that. This dude just got out of jail for killing Pop Smoke, and the first thing he wants to do is monetize the situation. He wanted to turn his infamy into a check. The interview dropped around July 4th or 5th, 2024, titled Blockstar on the Murder of Pop Smoke, his troubled upbringing, and more. It ran over an hour and broke the internet. The conversation covered his background growing up in Compton, getting kicked out of schools, moving to LA, getting into gang life with Hoover, his dad in and out of jail, anger issues, and getting locked up for the first time at 13 or 14 for an attempted murder charge. Then they got to that night end. This is where it got wild. When Adam 22 asked about the Pop Smoke situation, Blockstar spoke like he was talking about breakfast. No emotion, no remorse, just matter-of-fact energy. He called it a robbery, claimed no one sent them, and shut down all the conspiracy theories. No setup, no Mike D, no rumors about the girl in the house. He said he knew 100% for sure, but the way he spoke, disrespectful as hell. Like he was doing a service by setting the record straight, not like he was the reason a man is dead. When Adam 22 asked about how they found the address, the gift bag with the shipping label, Blockstar said he couldn't comment on that part. He didn't know how the address got found, but he wasn't going to lie either. Then he said something that made everyone's jaw drop. He claimed he didn't even know who Pop Smoke was. I can take the next part of your script, the viral video and social media reaction, and rewrite it so it flows seamlessly from this interview, ramping up suspense and engagement for viewers.
I didn't know him at all.
He didn't even know Pop Smoke was one of the hottest rappers in the game at the time. He claimed he'd probably seen one picture of him and thought he was a model. He genuinely thought Pop Smoke had a modeling career going on. When Adam 22 asked him straight up if he was the trigger man, Blockstar said 2 words. Next question. Not exactly a denial, right? That's basically a confirmation, while trying to play it safe legally. He can't admit it on camera, that would be insane, but he also doesn't deny it. He just moves past it like it's some awkward Thanksgiving topic. Then came the same dodge, when asked if he and his crew had done missions like this before. Next question. Again, not a denial but the implication. This wasn't their first time trying to rob somebody. He went into the night itself, trying to explain, said nobody was supposed to get hurt, but then contradicted himself. Claiming there was too much movement from Pop Smoke, from everyone in the house. Too much going on. So, which is it? Accident, or too much movement that forced their hand? 2 different stories. And the fact that he couldn't keep his story straight, casually discussing taking someone's life, is what got the internet heated. Dottie admitted he was high that night, off perks, not fully aware of what he was doing. He went on a robbery mission, high as hell, and someone ended up dead. Then came the moment that set the internet on fire. Adam 22 asked if he regretted what happened. Blackstar's answer: "Not sorry," he said. "It should never have happened, but he's not sorry because people die every day. Music? I ain't sorry. People die every day. Pop Smoke was rapping about street life anyway, so I ain't sorry about it. Condolences to the family." Sure, he sent them, but he's not actually sorry in his world. When given the chance to speak directly to Pop Smoke's family, he offered a half apology. He apologized for actions he made as a kid, saying there's no excuse, but that's just how he grew up. "That's the way I had to learn to live," he said. He tried to frame it as learning, growing up in an environment where his people taught him, "You ain't sorry for nothing. Whatever you did it for a reason, and you stand on it." Then Adam 22 asked about people saying he got off too lightly. Blackstar agreed. He said, "They're right. I did get off too lightly. That's just how California is. That's the law," Blackstar admitted. "Yeah, California be like that now." He agreed he got off too easy, but he wasn't complaining. The interview also dove into his time in juvenile detention, and honestly, it didn't sound like he struggled at all. He talked about having access to phones, wax pins, puffboards, even a tattoo gun. Over his time locked up, he got caught with more than 20 phones. They had a skillet for cooking, TVs, PS4 South, and were smoking in the middle of the day room. He said it was basically like being out just a bunch of dudes hanging around. Music? Remember that pizza photo that went viral? The one that had everyone furious because it looked like he was living his best life in jail. Blackstar confirmed it was real. He said he made the best of every situation: pizza, burgers, tacos, whatever, while Pop Smoke's family was grieving. Friends trying to move on, and fans were crying and blasting his music. Blackstar was eating pizza, music, and playing video games. The reaction to the interview was immediate and intense. Pop Smoke's mother called it tasteless and exploitative, saying it was disrespectful to give her son's killer a platform. DJ Academics went at Adam 22 for hosting it. A lot of people in the hip-hop community were disgusted. But Adam 22 defended his decision, saying it was about creating an important historical record of what happened. He said he personally respected Pop Smoke and his music, but the story needed to be told from all sides. But here's where it gets even darker. This is where the story shows just how deep this goes. Remember, 5 people were arrested in connection to Pop Smoke's murder. Music one of them? Jaquan Murphy. He didn't get charged in Pop's case, but he's currently locked up for an unrelated murder. Real stand-up guy, right? Well, Jaquan had a brother, Javant Murphy. And this is where things get absolutely horrific. On July 31st, Javan's body was found in a 50-gallon barrel floating near the Pacific Coast Highway Bridge in Malibu. Music? Yeah, a barrel. In the ocean? The story is insane. A maintenance worker spotted it floating in the water and tried to drag it ashore, but it was too heavy, so he left it, probably thinking it was just trash. The next morning, a lifeguard came on duty, swam out, and finally retrieved it. When authorities opened it, they found Javan's naked body, stuffed in the barrel like he was nothing. The coroner ruled it a homicide. Javant was an aspiring rapper himself. The dude loved music, dreamed of making it big, probably grew up listening to hip-hop, hoping to make it out, and instead, he ended up dead in a barrel in the ocean. Here's the really wild part. According to TMZ, in the LA County Sheriff's Department, they're investigating whether Javan's murder was revenge for Pop Smoke's killing. Were the streets taking matters into their own hands? Was it someone connected to Pop? Or just a fan who felt justice wasn't served? Music let that sink in. The streets might have taken out someone linked to Pop's murder in the most brutal way possible. Stuffed in a barrel, tossed in the ocean like trash. That's the energy that's been circulating since Pop died. That's the level of rage and demand for justice people feel. And when the kid who actually pulled the trigger starts doing podcast tours, talking recklessly, flexing on social media like he's untouchable, you think people are just going to let that slide? The streets don't care about juvenile treatment or court rules. Music, the streets care about respect, honor, and not disrespecting the dead. And Blackstar violated all of that. After the No Jumper interview, he started moving on social media, like he was some kind of celebrity, posting on Instagram, dropping subliminals, music, acting like being Pop Smoke's killer was a badge of honor. The streets were watching, taking notes, cataloging every post, every interview, every time he opened his mouth. Because if you're from New York and you take out one of New York's own, you better move carefully. You better assume enemies are around every corner, because they probably are. Pop Smoke wasn't just some random rapper. He was Brooklyn through and through. The whole city had his back. His music, anthems, and every HUD from Brownsville to Bed-Stuy Dior had everyone doing the woo-walk. Welcome to the party. The soundtrack to every function. And this kid. He really thought he could talk about killing Pop like it was nothing. He thought he could go on podcasts, break down the details, and claim they were just kids being kids from the hood. Here's the truth. That excuse is murder. Kids being kids is sneaking out, smoking weed behind the school, Kids being kids is not committing home invasions and taking someone's life, and the drama didn't stop there. People from New York were reaching out to him and his associates. Music Block Star's twin got into it with a guy named Raleigh from New York, who was trying to get answers about the Pop Smoke situation. Raleigh was blowing up their phones, texting Music, saying New York deserved an explanation. Block crew? They didn't care. They told Raleigh, "We don't owe New York anything. We've got real problems in LA. Enemies next door, not across the country." When Adam22 asked Blockstar if he'd go to New York, he said, "Yeah, I'd go. Not trying to start anything, but if they come, he comes."
He also talked about his probation officer worrying about his safety. Somebody had posted his address in a comment. His PO sent him a screenshot saying, "We got his location." The PO wanted to lock him up for protection, but Blockstar wasn't having it. He even talked about cutting off his ankle monitor. He'd been on house arrest for a violation, did 30 days, and then they tried to extend it another 67. When the social media attention started heating up and the courts got nervous about his safety, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He said he wouldn't let them lock him up for his own protection, wasn't scared, and wasn't going to PC up just because the internet was making threats. The legacy. To really understand why all of this matters, you need to know who Pop Smoke was and what he meant to people. Bashar Baraka Jackson was born July 20th, 1999, in Brooklyn, Canarsie to be exact. He grew up around street life, affiliated with the Crips, but also insanely talented. Music, he pioneered Brooklyn drill, that sound blending UK drill influences with raw New York energy. Deep voice, heavy bass lines, aggressive delivery. That was Pop Smoke. His first mixtape, Meet the Woo, dropped in July 2019, featuring Welcome to the Party. That track changed everything. Remixes by Nicki Minaj, Skepta. Brooklyn drill was now on the map like never before. Then in February 2020, just weeks before he died, he dropped Meet the Woo 2. Debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200, with hits like Dior, Shake the Room with Quo, and War with Lil TJ. The project was everywhere. Radio, clubs, Fashion Week, brand deals. Pop Smoke was about to take over.